Welcome to the Robert Hunt Financial Market Update. It's your host, Robert Hunt. We'll look at the week's financial news that could be a bit confusing, misleading, and take, of course, help to make it actionable, understandable, and clear. What a week. Therefore, what a show. We've got a great one. When the producers and the editors and the whole team comes together like this, boy, it feels great. We're going to be looking at a Kiplinger's. This is a magazine that I stumbled across, the September 2026 issue. I guess I got a little sneak peek. Headline, The Appeal of a Fund Manager. It'll make you fall out of your chair, but we got to hear it. We then look at a Wall Street Journal article by Mr. Jason Zweig. Oh, it's good. Why investors fall for shooting stars. And then we're going to talk a little bit about Polymarket and gambling. So kind of a two-part series. We look at Polymarket, which, if you're not aware, I think it's a place to bet. You bet against your peers on, will something happen? We're going to talk about why I think it's a little bit dangerous, and then why Gen Z loves sports gambling. But at the top, The Appeal of a Fund Manager. I almost could not believe this, guys. This is by Mr. James K. Glassman, Street Smart. So he starts off this article, and I'm thinking The Appeal of a Fund Manager, this is going to be a fuddy-duddy, like this guy doesn't know about index funds. He starts out, the first half of the first page is all about the merits of indexing. He says, I enthusiastically endorsed index funds in the 1999 book I co-authored, Dow 3600, and I've advocated them ever since. Investors have caught on. In 2010, index securities held just 19% of the total assets in mutual funds and exchange-traded funds. At the end of 2025, the figure was 52%. I'm going to say that again. This is you, listener. You're doing this. In 2010, index assets were 19%. At the end of 2025, 52%. For funds that own U.S. stocks, index funds now hold 63% of assets. Whoa, that's amazing. And he keeps going. He keeps praising the index fund. He said index funds took off after Vanguard aggressively cut fees, and other houses followed suit. Yep. He talks about VOO, talks about iShares, IVV, talks about the Fidelity 500, all these cheap funds that are wonderful. And then it was the most bizarre turn. He has this line. He says, an index fund will never beat the index after expenses. An active fund has a shot. Oh dear. It's kind of, I don't know what to equate it to. It's like you meet someone, they give a great speech about, I don't know, that just, very reasonable. They sound wonderful. They're talking about, grass or something, and this is how you grow Bermuda grass in Texas, and then you pour bleach all over it. You'd say, wait, what? Because he gives all this excellent data on indexing, and then he says, and then you look for active funds. And here he goes. He talks about the Fidelity Contra Fund. Oh, it beat the index. It's true. It happens. It bought NVIDIA early. It says Contra Fund has whipped the index while charging expenses of 0.74%, which is more than 20 times what Vanguard's S&P 500 ETF charges. He goes on. I think it's important that we remember this. This is human psychology. We've entered the psychology zone. He says an index fund will never beat the index after expenses. An active fund has a shot. That's true. That's true. He then gives this. I mean, I just can't imagine. 81 funds. He does this. He says, also, when a fund does beat the index, it could be luck. In an experiment, S&P Global, a major compiler of indices, found that 336 actively managed funds were in the top half of a universe of more than 1,000 funds after a year. But after 2 years, just 81 of those active funds were still in the top half. After 4 years, 43. That's a universe of 1,000, only 43 in the top half. The article continues, and he goes on to list active fund after active fund after active fund after active fund. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 active funds. He ends the article. This is so bizarre. Of course, you should own index funds, but owning funds managed by smart people is not as crazy as many investors think. The legendary John Bogle, the late Vanguard CEO, called such investing akin to a second marriage. The triumph of hope over experience. Actually, many second marriages do work out, and so do managed funds. Oh, my head was spinning. How do I make sense of it? You have to sell magazines if you publish them monthly. I don't know what the cadence for Kiplinger's is, and they have to appeal. And I assume this magazine's for retirees or those closely, about to approach retirement, who have some sort of a nest egg and are thinking, but want to be entertained with how to invest. Oh, I can't think of anything more dangerous than this. You may eat of any tree in the garden except this one, and yet he goes on to tell you why it'd be bad for you, but you still eat it. Stay sharp out there, listener. Stay sharp out there. We then have a great Jason Zweig. Why investors fall for shooting stars. So this is Zweig. He says, my colleague Spencer Jacob wrote last week about why investors seem to forgive fallen investing stars. A question that intrigues me is why investors fall for these shooting stars in the first place. Now let's go back to, I guess, a couple of weeks ago, the podcast, this Leopold Aschenbrenner, that hedge fund situational awareness that was up 270% this year through May. It amassed $45 billion. We also have Kathy Wood, ARK Innovation. It went up, 153% in 2020, helped her attract $20 billion in new money. At the end of 1999, a 29-year-old, Ryan Jacob, launched the Jacob Internet Fund. Lured by the 216% annual return of the previous fund, investors showered nearly $300 million at him. This is a great Benjamin Graham line. Benjamin Graham wrote The Intelligent Investor, mentor of Warren Buffett. He said it this way. He said, bright, energetic people, usually quite young, have promised to perform miracles with other people's money since time immemorial. They have usually been able to do it for a while, or at least to appear to have done it, and they have inevitably brought losses to their public in the end. Boy, he says it great, Ben Graham. Intelligent Investor, it's a good one to read. And so it goes. So Zweig gives us the punchline. Aschenbrenner's fund lost 67% in July, 1 month. 67% in just that month, July. ARK Innovation has trailed the S&P 500 by an average of 23 percentage points annually since the end of 2020. 23% annually. Jacob Internet, which, what a name, lost 70% in 2000 and 56% in 2001. And since its launch has lagged behind the S&P 500 by nearly 14 percentage points annualized. Why don't we learn, listener? And Zweig rightly says, we engage in magical thinking. There's a psychologist, Daniel Kahneman. Luck, he says this, told Zweig, luck and randomness are the likeliest but least satisfying explanation for extreme outcomes. Ordinary causes feel insufficient to explain extraordinary results. I got to read that again. Luck and randomness are the likeliest but least satisfying explanations for extreme outcomes. And I'm going to give you a little commentary. That 270%, the ARK Innovation 153. Ordinary causes feel insufficient to explain extraordinary results. So he would say, as Cameron would say, stories trump statistics. If something seems miraculous, like doubling or triple other people's money in a few months, our intuition tells us the person who did it must be a miracle worker. Boy, that is such good stuff, listener. That's some of the best stuff I've read in a long time, because the longer I swim in these waters of personal investing and financial advisory, it's psychology. Boy, howdy, it's understanding ourselves. It's understanding why we attach ourselves to these, I love that line, young, energetic people that promise us things. Bright, energetic people, usually quite young, have promised to perform miracles with other people's money since time immemorial. That's the Benjamin Graham quote. Wow. I just love it. And one of the things I continually have to remind myself of is the data's out there. it's just, and we have so much data in the artificial intelligence era. You can just ask a chat bot, hey, what do you think? How should I invest? It'll tell you the right answer. It's not enough. Clearly, it's not enough. Otherwise, people would not stop falling for this stuff. And sometimes I wonder, or I'm asked, hey, what do you do? If the AI agent has solved this financial advice thing, and if it's all the data, the science is settled, what's going on? Why don't people just use a chatbot? It's like a personal trainer. You know what workout to do. You know what the diet should be. You can type into a chatbot to do all these things. A personal trainer ensures you don't get hurt. You follow through, a little bit of accountability. And by paying that person, it ensures you'll be committed and do it. And I got to tell you, I think increasingly that may be the secret sauce of financial advisors. It's less about here's the right answer. While it's in my head, the chatbot's got it too, and it's only getting better. Only getting better. But it's those intangibles. I also think I still have better jokes than the chatbot. But I recognize I may fall eventually. But that's what an advisor is there for. Make sure you don't get hurt. Keep you accountable. Keep you on the straight and narrow. Because I told someone this morning, I'm talking to them, load this into a chatbot. Don't give account numbers. Don't just give general data. What do you think? I knew the chatbot would have confirmed what I told them to do, but it's nice to have someone else say it who you don't have to pay. Load it up. Ask them for a full financial plan. Tell that chatbot, hey, pretend you're a financial advisor who's the best in the business. Here's my data. What should I do? And just see what they say. Next, we're going to look at Polymarket. Now, I'll confess, I am no Polymarket expert. I have never participated in Polymarket. It's always been a bit of I've read it because they shared data, but never truly understood what Polymarket was doing or why. Well, I read an article, and it made me wonder to what degree this Polymarket thing, it's in kind of a canary in the coal mine for so many other investing opportunities. What happened is there's this long expose into Polymarket, how it worked, how it was supposed to work, if these were legitimate bets. And what happened is there were these videos on the internet showing people winning money. And after further investigation, they realized that these were not real videos. This was contrived. This was made up. This is artificial. But what are they tapping into? What do you and I want to hear? There's quick, fun, easy money a click away. Most financial advertising, not all, most, has some way of tickling our ears to say, there's an easier road. You'll be smart compared to your peers. Your peers don't know this. You'll make money quick. Give your money to us. And click around on our platform. It was fake, though. And so you got to be super suspicious. You should be super suspicious of, and what I thought was most insidious is it would have been, if I saw these videos, they looked real. It wouldn't until this independent investigation showed, nope, none of the bets were real. None of them. So be smart out there. Be sharp. I would just avoid betting on anything. I think that's a great way to safely not lose a bunch of your money. And now that we're talking about betting, in closing, I thought this was fascinating. This is from the X.com platform. Bloomberg had this data, but this is sports betting now competes with investing for Gen Z's dollars. For all my Gen Z listeners out there, thank you for being a listener. They say the line between investing and gambling, it gets blurred for young Americans. And they have kind of various generations, Gen Z, millennials, that's me, Gen X, and then boomers. Good for you, boomers. Look at the boomers aren't hardly gambling at all in sports. Thank you. But overall, I'll give you the overall data. 12% of these participants treat sports as a deliberate part of their long-term financial strategy. 24% is the total pie, not broken down. 24% of the participants who have directed investing funds to sports betting at least once in the past year. Now, check out the Gen Z's data. That's across all the generations. Check out the Gen Z's data. 26% of the Gen Z's polled, they treat sports as a part of their long-term financial strategy, sports betting. 1 in 4, over 1 in 4, treats sports betting as a long-term financial strategy. 52% of Gen Z participants have directed investing funds to sports betting at least once in the past year. They're taking money that they were going to invest, and they've, in their minds, invested it in sports betting. With millennials, the numbers drop. 14% of millennials think sports betting is a part of their long-term strategy. 31% have taken some investing funds and bet at least once in the year. The numbers get lower with Gen X, 6 and 10. For the boomers, it says 1% of baby boomers treat sports betting as a deliberate part of their long-term financial strategy, and only 4% of boomers have directed investing funds. So good job, baby boomers. You are winning this round for sure. But that number just blew me away. I guess the gambling didn't surprise me because the internet, the iPhone with apps makes it so easy to bet on sports. So over half of Gen Z are taking money that should be for investing and betting on sports. And over 26% actually think, hey, this is a part of their portfolio. It's like, hey, here's a part of my portfolio I'm going to dedicate to sports betting. And I just think that goes back to that Polymarket phenomena where, hey, if you think your friends are making quick money and it's easy, if you think there are other people out there doing well and it just tickles the ears, hey, there's an easy, quick way to make bunches of money. It's any of us. It's the smartest person you can imagine is just as prone to this sort of temptation as anybody else. So avoid it. Avoid it. Don't play the game. It doesn't work. Certainly doesn't work. You can look at the data. Now, admittedly, the data wasn't enough for our first article. Mr. James Glassman knows all the data on index funds. In fact, wrote a book purporting index funds in 1999, then goes on to recommend 9 active funds. So understand psychology. Understand yourself. We've met the enemy, and it is us. So what to do? You know the answer. Keep your cost low, investing simple, and time horizon long, because that is what's going to give you the best shot on your investing journey. Until next week.